Arash Markazi, who joins me now. Arash, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. What the hell does this all mean?
Well, okay. So basically, the judge ruling yesterday said that Shelley Sterling did properly remove Donald Sterling from the trust, and she had every right to sell the team, and that the ruling is not only in place right now, but it's also moving forward. It's appeal proof. Now,
Right.
Donald, and he has done this, he can file another lawsuit on separate grounds. So he's filed a lawsuit against the league and his wife for corporate fraud. I don't know if that can block the sale of the team, though.
So is it possible that Donald Sterling eventually, I know I read a couple different stories, and is it possible that he just walks quietly into the night, or is he just determined to fight this until his death?
I don't think he'll do anything quietly. I did talk to his wife, Shelley, outside the courtroom, and she said she will sit down with her husband and kind of talk things out, and she was, cautiously optimistic that he would drop his lawsuits and they could move forward with their life. I mean, my goodness, he technically lost, but he sold a $12 million investment for $2 billion. So
Right.
at some point, his feelings are hurt. He felt that in his time of need, the league and his owners kind of turned their back on him. Now, you could say that they had every right to do so, but the reason that he hired these private investigators to investigate the other owners is he said, I have these other guys who probably said things worse than me and done things worse than me. So they're all hoping that this ends quietly, but with Donald Sterling, I don't see that happening.
The highlights seem to me, and I know you're there for the vast majority of this, but the highlights seem to be him kissing his wife, testifying that he loved her, and then the next day yelling, "Get away from me, you pig." Did that happen?
That was the highlight. Yeah, that was definitely the highlight. That's what we've all talked about kind of since that happened. So he's on the witness stand, and he's basically saying how much he loves his wife. But while he's saying he loves his wife, he says his wife is not capable of doing anything with the team. She's a good wife, pats her on the head type of thing, but she can't really run this corporation. So,
Right.
It was like a tongue-in-cheek thing. But then when she testified, when Shelley Sterling testified and how, she noticed that her husband was suffering from dementia and things of that nature, and then she walked off the witness stand and wanted to go hug him, he said, "Get away from me, you pig."
Right.
That was certainly the highlight of the whole proceedings that were surreal, to say the least.
Arash Markazi joining us here on Tim and Sid. The interesting contrast that I saw was that the NBA PA, or the MBPA, had elected a new executive director in D.C. Attorney Michelle Roberts yesterday. Is part of this all, and people watching this sale for $2 billion, is there an underlying kind of turbulence coming in the NBA with regards to just how much this team could be sold for?
Well, listen, it is no secret at this point that the players got totally screwed in their deal. I mean, when you look at there's no reason superstar players should be taking pay cuts. When you look at Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki and other players like that, they're taking pay cuts so their teams can sign guys. And so these teams are basically saying, we're losing money. Well, the Los Angeles Clippers, who have a 30-year history of not doing a thing, just sold for $2 billion. I mean, there's no way that when they go back to the bargaining table, that $2 billion will be put in their faces.
Yeah.
Because if the Clippers can go for $2 billion, think about the Lakers and the Knicks and the Chicago Bulls and teams that have actually won something.
Right. It's funny, and it's almost, I just told the story how LeBron James was named America's most popular athlete in the Harris poll, and I've flipped the script on LeBron James, where I'm like, you know what? If Jordan made $33 million in '95 and LeBron can only make $20 million, why can't he be a mercenary? Like, why, if idiots like the Sterlings can turn a $12 million investment into $2 billion, and these guys are limited on what they can make, I think there's an underlying current here that's watching this, and while shaking their heads are saying, you know what, this is the start of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the one thing I kept thinking during the offseason when I'm looking at some of these contracts being handed out, and some players who thought that they'd make a ton this offseason are kind of going back to their old teams to sign for peanuts, basically.
Yeah.
So, the owners set this in place to protect themselves from themselves. But that's not the job of the players. It's not the job of the players to say, Kirk Nowitzki to say, I'm going to take $25 million over 3 years.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Completely agree. Hey, really appreciate you taking the time to explain this to an idiot like me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Merci, hold office.
Hold office.
There is Arash Markazi from Los Angeles.